2012 case of Henderson versus Axiom, it was argued that Axiom ran employment background checks without informing and notifying consumers, which was a violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Welcome. This is the second part of our Opt-out Guide videos. Today, we're going to cover the remaining 5 of the top 10 data brokers. We have a lot to get through, so let's get started. Experian's origin dates back to 1826 when merchants in London began exchanging information on consumers who failed to settle their debts, forming Manchester Guardian Society that later became part of Experian. In the 1890s, Jim Chilton founded Credit Data Corporation in Dallas, Texas. This association introduced practices of listing both good and bad credits and convincing merchants to pull their information together and confidentially. This company also later became part of Experian. In 1996, the US and UK branches of Experian merged under the umbrella of the Great Universal Stores, a large British retail conglomerate. Today, Experian holds data on over 240 million consumers and serves various industries, such as advertising, automotive, healthcare, telecommunications, and the public sector. Experian claims to gather, analyze, and process data in ways that others can't. What those ways are, we don't know.
I don't know about this.
TransUnion has been operating for over 50 years, collecting and sharing online, offline, public, and proprietary information on consumers. In 2022, TransUnion bought Verisk Financial Services, part of Verisk Analytics, another data broker. The acquisition helped TransUnion improve and expand its offerings to financial institutions. Some of the data TransUnion collects include full names, ethnic identities, credit data, vehicle registration, and political affiliations. Epsilon has data on over 250 million Americans and says its consumer database is the best around. With this database, Epsilon helps businesses learn more about their customers and potential buyers, which essentially allows them to analyze and even predict the future buying behavior of these consumers. Epsilon collects consumer data from public records, like voter registration records or phone books, surveys, service partners, and also it multi-sources it from real transactional data and category purchases. Some companies that have partnered with Epsilon include the Norwegian Cruise Line, Ballard Designs, JustFab, and DishNet. @Data is a data broker company that provides email addresses and intelligence solutions for over 200 years. @Data claims that the email data asset, which includes over 1 billion unique records, can help businesses create detailed profiles of their customers. This allows businesses to segment their customers and identify quality leads more effectively. However, though, it's not clear what exactly those unique records are. Full Contact is a data broker that provides data for businesses to identify customers, do targeted advertisement, and to prevent fraud. Full Contact has something called the Authentic Identity Graph, which looks like this. This identity graph is like a big database with lots of information about people, but it's different from other databases because it has nodes, which are pieces of contact information, and edges that show how these pieces of information are connected. This identity graph has data including websites visits, hashed emails, names, and device IDs. Full Contact provides these identity graphs to businesses such as Epsilon, Zapier, and Snowflake. One notable issue with Experian is data sharing without explicit consent. In 2020, the Information Commissioner's Office found that Experian, along with Equifax and TransUnion, were using people's data without their knowledge. This was after a 2-year investigation. The first-tier tribunal in the UK discovered that Experian didn't inform over 5 million people about how their personal data was being used. The tribunal then offered Experian to send proper privacy notices to these people following the GDPR rules. Also, Experian was hacked in 2015, which exposed the personal information of over 50 million people. Hackers got into a server that held data from T-Mobile credit applications. This exposed personal information such as addresses, social security numbers, passport numbers, dates of birth, and military IDs. Criminals can use this piece of information to launch an identity theft attack. TransUnion was also hacked. In 2022, a hacker group called NaughtySecTU broke into TransUnion's South African server. The hacking group claimed that they stole over 4 terabytes of data with records of over 54 million people. They also said that the account that they used to access TransUnion server only had a password. What? Yeah, you heard that right. Then, the hacking group demanded a ransom of 223 million rand in cryptocurrency, which approximately is $15 million. TransUnion did not pay this ransom, however. They also tried to downplay the hacking group's claim and said that the exposed records were from 2017 and did not involve TransUnion. Still though, Epsilon has had its own share of data breaches as well. Back in 2011, Epsilon's email systems was hacked, affecting the names and email addresses of over 60 million customers. These customers were from Epsilon's business partners, such as Barclaycard, Capital One, and other major companies. Epsilon confirmed that 2% of its over 2,000 customers were affected, which amounts to about 50 businesses. While sensitive information like credit card numbers was not compromised, the stolen email addresses made customers vulnerable to phishing attacks and spam. This was evident from the increase in the number of people who started receiving spams. Then in 2015, US federal prosecutors indicted 2 Vietnamese citizens, Quoc Nguyen and Ja Hang Vu, and a Canadian citizen, David Manuel Santos da Silva, in connection with the 2011 Epsilon data breach. The indictment revealed that they stole over 1 billion email addresses and used them to send spam promoting counterfeit software, earning over $2 million from the scheme. The 2 Vietnamese hackers were charged with various counts of wire fraud, while Da Silva faced charges of conspiracy to commit money laundering. AdData has never experienced a data breach or faced any privacy lawsuits. However, since they specialize in email data, there's still a risk that your email information could be compromised, just like with Epsilon. And as I mentioned earlier, AdData has something called unique records, but it's not clear what those are exactly. We don't know what personal information is included in these unique records, which can be a little concerning if you think about it.
That's weird.
So it's a good idea to opt out if you can, and I will explain how you can do this in a bit. There's no evidence or report of Full Contact ever being hacked or facing any privacy lawsuit. However though, Full Contact is involved with a data marketplace called Narrative, which sells sensitive data, including information about people who use period or menstrual cycle tracking apps. Narrative acts as a middleman, relying on data from harvesters, including Full Contact. The major concern is that data from period tracking apps could be used to target people who get abortions. For Experian, you can opt out from receiving targeted advertising, direct mail, and telemarketing. But the most important one to opt out from is Experian's affiliate TapPad, which collects cross-device data like email, cookies, and IP addresses. To opt out from Experian's TapPad, you first need to input your request type, which could either be opt-out, access, or deletion. Then select your country. Next, input the identifier. It can be email and select type. Then you have to give your signature. After that, check the verification and click submit. Next, click opt out from existing cookies and do not sell my personal information. For TransUnion, first, you have to fill out this form. Input all required information. You don't have to add your social security number or your date of birth. Then click continue. Pick your limitation preferences. Ideally, you should check everything from data sharing to limitations on the use of sensitive personal information. Once you're done with your limitation choices, you can submit your opt-out request. For Epsilon, you can opt out of the data collection and sharing by sending a request to Conversant, Epsilon's partner. Here's how. Choose your country, pick your request type carefully, as you can only do one request type per submission. Even though it's time-consuming, It's important to submit requests for actions like do not sell, data access, data deletion, opting out of profiling, and opting out of using your sensitive information. After that, select consumer. Then, provide the necessary information. Lastly, submit your request. Then repeat the process for the other types of requests. For ad data, you can opt out by filling out their privacy form. Pick myself if you are submitting a request for yourself, but you can also pick my household if you're opting out for your family members. Next, choose what you want to do. Opt out from data selling, data deletion, or data access. Just like Epsilon, you can only pick one per submission. Then provide the required information. It's up to you if you want to add more details and supporting documents. Do the verification and submit your request. Lastly, for full contact, you can opt out of the selling, using, and sharing your personal data. Just click the boxes and follow the instructions. But the most important step is deleting your data from full contact. To do so, click the box with Delete My Data. Pick your country and click Continue. Choose Use My Email. Then, provide your email address to receive a verification code. Next, enter the code and click Verify My Email. After that, you have to fill out a form requiring your personal information. Then, submit your request and you are done. That concludes our guide on how to opt out of the top 10 data brokers. So, what do you think? Should we do more guides on data brokers? Let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And see you on the next video.